Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, April 29th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. Kansas City Royals taking on the Minnesota Twins. Sonny Gray and Brad Keller are your starters. To me, this is a pitching mismatch again. We see Brad Keller, who had a pretty good start to 2023, just as he had a good start to 2022, starting to fade away now in his last couple of starts. He has not been very good. His last 8 innings of work against the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, he's given up 7 earned runs and 11 walks with only 4 strikeouts along the way. And, the base runners are piling up. I think the Minnesota Twins are the perfect team to take advantage of that. I think they get to Keller early and often. And on the other side, Sonny Gray has just been super sharp this year. 3-0 with a .62 ERA. Sure, there's natural regression concerns, but he's missing bats. He's not giving up the long ball. Has not given up a home run yet this season. 29 innings of work. The Royals put together sharp contact. You look at their numbers in terms of the average exit velocity and their hard hit percentage, but this is also a team that has issues with swing and misses. They whiff a lot. They strike out a lot against right-handed pitching, and I don't like their chances in this game. They lead the league right now, 26.3% in strikeout rate against righties, and they have the lowest walk rate in baseball. So they can't rely on the BABIP that much. I'm going to take the Minnesota Twins on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the Seattle Mariners taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Chris Flexen and Kevin Gausman are your listed starters. Chris Flexen's really tough to back him right now. He's 0-4 with that 8.86 ERA. The Mariners have lost all 5 of his starts this season, most of those losses by more than 2 runs. And the Blue Jays, they've hit right-handed pitching well. Kevin Gausman, if he is the starter, there's no official line for this game, so we could see a pitching change. But even if Gausman's not starting in this game, I think the Blue Jays have a real good shot at winning this one by a pretty significant margin. So I'm going to take the Toronto Blue Jays on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the New York Mets. Spencer Strider and Tyler McGill are your starters. I like the Braves to win this game, but I still think that the Mets could get to Spencer Strider for a few runs in this one. We saw last year the Mets did pretty good against Spencer Strider. In 12 1/3 innings of work, they had 20 base runners, 14 base hits, and 6 walks. A 4.38 ERA Strider had in those innings. And, the Mets do a really good job at limiting strikeouts. So, for a pitcher like Strider, who is a very strikeout-dependent guy, not really the best matchup for him. I could see the Mets scoring a few early, but I also think the Braves get to Tyler McGill, who's just not in good form right now. He's given up the free passes, the walks. He's given up the home run ball. We've seen him give up 4 home runs in his last 3 starts, and in each of those starts, he was only able to go 5 innings at the most. So the Braves have a very strong lineup, very powerful lineup against right-handed pitching, against left-handed pitching. Right now, Atlanta is 11th in team OPS, but it's 5th in baseball in isolated power against those righties. So I don't really love this matchup for McGill, and I also don't love the fact that the Mets bullpen has not been very sharp lately. They also have been really worked pretty, a lot of workload lately. We saw in the National Series, they used a ton of their relievers, sometimes on back-to-back days, and I just don't like this matchup for the Mets bullpen or McGill. So give me the Braves on the money line, and I'll lean towards the over in this one as well. Next up, it's the Chicago Cubs taking on the Miami Marlins. We're going to see Edward Cabrera going for Miami. No official starter for the Cubs right now. I'm going to lean towards the Cubs right now on the money line, as Edward Cabrera, it's a little bit concerning. His last couple of starts giving up the home run ball, 3 homers in his last 10 1/3 innings, 6 walks to go with it. We know Cabrera's got really good strikeout stuff, and he's been able to miss a lot of bats this season, but the walks, a 20-24 walk to strikeout ratio, is very concerning. And against the Cubs team, it's hit righties very well. You look at their numbers, like the team OPS department, 5th in baseball, a very low strikeout rate of 19.1%. So they're not striking out. They're getting on base. The second lowest strikeout rate in baseball against righties. To me, not a very good matchup for Cabrera, who's struggling. As of late, his last start was not very good against the Braves. So give me the Chicago Cubs on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Hunter Green and Kyle Muller on the mound in this one. So Muller was originally projected to start on Friday, but they moved his start to Saturday. And, I still think he could put together a solid outing here against the Reds team and has struggled against lefties on the road this season. The Reds have really struggled overall on the road. They're, going into Friday's games 1-9 this season away from home. Hunter Green, I think can also put together a strong outing. I mean, he's pitched well, 3.52 ERA, good amount of strikeouts, 30 strikeouts in 23 innings. And the big thing for me is the promising sign is Hunter Green last year really struggled giving up those home run balls, but this season only one home run allowed in 23 innings. That's a really good sign to see. And a lot of his starts have been on the road, so he's been able to stay away from Great American, but he's on the road again here. I think he pitches well again here. So give me the under in Reds Athletics. In our next game, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to see Zach Plesac and Garrett Whitlock on the mound. Two starting pitchers with ERAs above 6, but I do think that the ceiling is a lot higher for Garrett Whitlock than it is for Zach Plesac. And I do think the Red Sox have the much more trustworthy bats against right-handed pitchers, believe it or not. I mean, last year the Guardians had a really good team OPS and a very low strikeout rate against righties, but this year, although their strikeout rate is still low, their OPS numbers and their isolated power numbers are not very good against right-handed pitching. And I think Zach Plesac, coming off a game where he gave up 10 base hits to the Miami Marlins of all teams, now at Fenway Park, just a really bad spot for him. He's given up 17 base hits in his last 10 innings of work. A good amount of earned runs along the way. His strikeout numbers have not been there. They've been very inconsistent. The Red Sox have a strong lineup. They have a lineup that's very patient at the plate. Only a 19.8% strikeout rate is fourth lowest. So I'm going to take the Boston Red Sox here on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Houston Astros. We're going to see Zach Wheeler and Christian Javier on the mound in this one. We see the Phillies open up as a small favorite in this game. I don't think it's going to last very long. I do think the Astros will end up being the favorites in this one, which is only going to give us a better price with Philadelphia, in my opinion. I think Zach Wheeler is the better starter in this game. I think he has more potential in this game, and I also like the fact that the Phillies have the better numbers offensively against right-handed pitching. I mean, when you look at Philadelphia, top 10 in baseball in team OPS and top 15 in isolated power. You look at the Houston Astros, this team is ranked 25th in baseball going into Friday's games in isolated power against right-handed pitching. And last year we saw this team really do a great job at limiting strikeouts against righties, but this year a little bit of a high strikeout rate for the Astros, 23.8% against those right-handed pitchers. Zach Wheeler's got 16 strikeouts in his last 11 innings of work, and he hasn't given up a home run in each of his last 4 starts. So give me the Philadelphia Phillies in the first 5 innings in this one. I don't trust their bullpen. Again, when it comes to if this is a close game late, I think the Astros have the advantage, but give me the Phillies in the first 5. Next up, it's the Mexico City series between the San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres. We're going to see Sean Manaea and Joe Musgrove as the starters in this one. We see the Padres as big favorites in this game because Java Joe is on the mound, but he struggled in that first start of 2023, giving up 7 base hits and only 5 innings of work, a home run, and 3 earned runs to go with it. He's facing a Giants team. It's pretty solid against right-handed pitching this year. Number 2 in baseball in team OPS, number 3 in baseball in isolated power. I think there's some value here with San Francisco. I mean, Sean Manaea is not my favorite starting pitcher to back, and this Giants bullpen is also not great either. But I think, the Padres offensively have not been a great team. We've seen some of their stars, guys like Manny Machado and Juan Soto, put together some weak at-bats this season. I mean, they're really, struggling to start the year offensively. Not exactly what a lot of people expected going into 2023. I mean, the Padres were one of the big favorites to win the National League and win the World Series, but San Diego has disappointed a little bit. Their pitching staff's been good here and there. Their bullpen at the end of it, especially with guys like Josh Hader, has been really sharp. But Joe Musgrove, I really don't trust him in a game like this, especially with his first start not being his best, facing a really tough lineup here in a game where, at a neutral site. I think San Francisco can compete in this one. So give me the 1.5 runs with the San Francisco Giants in this one. Next up, we got the New York Yankees taking on the Texas Rangers. Johnny Brito and Nathan Eovaldi are your starters. We got 2 of the more inconsistent starting pitchers in baseball going at it here, and it makes it tough to handicap this game. But Johnny Brito, we've seen him his first start of the year, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, no earned against the Giants. Then he went 5 innings, 1 run against the Orioles, and then we saw him give up 7 earned runs in 1 inning against the Minnesota Twins. His last start against the Twins wasn't his best, 2 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 3 walks as well. The Rangers have hit righties very well, especially at home this season, so I do think Texas can get on the board early and often. And on the other side, Nathan Eovaldi, he's had good strikeout stuff this year, but giving up a good amount of base hits and base runners in general. I do think the Yankees could make him pay in this game, and I think we're going to see a high-scoring one. Don't trust this Rangers bullpen, so give me the over in Yankees-Rangers. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to see Reed Detmers and Corbin Burns on the mound in this matchup. If you take away a few mistake pitches, Reed Detmers has pitched really well in his last couple of games. He's put together 12 innings of work with 13 strikeouts and only 4 earned runs allowed in his last 2 games, and now he's facing a Milwaukee lineup that's not done very well against lefties. We saw that last year. We're seeing it in 2023. When you look at the numbers, Milwaukee 18th in isolated power, so a little bit below league average, but not, in terms of team OPS, they are dead last in the league, and their strikeout rate at 32.8% is also the highest in baseball. So I think this could be a good spot for Reed Detmers to put together 5-6 strong innings. Corbin Burns on the other end, he really struggled at the beginning of the year, gave up 10 earned runs in his first 2 starts. Ever since those games, he's pitched very well for Milwaukee, and he's facing an Angels team. I like when they're facing a lefty, but against a righty, they haven't had the best of numbers. Their strikeout rate is up there, and I do think that that Corbin Burns can put together a strong outing. So give me the under here in Angels Brewers. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Yonny Chirinos and Lance Lynn on the mound in this one. I don't love this matchup for Yonny Chirinos and the Rays pitching staff in general in this game. I've mentioned that the Rays bullpen is probably going to experience some pretty harsh regression as the season continues. When you look at their SIERA numbers, the second highest SIERA in baseball in their bullpen, which is only second to the Oakland Athletics. We know their pitching staff has not been very good this year. And, Yonny Chirinos just faced this White Sox team. He pitched well in that game out of the bullpen, and he's pitched well overall, but only 5 strikeouts, 9 in the third innings. Doesn't miss a lot of bats. The White Sox are a team that, to me, they already do a pretty good job at limiting strikeouts. I think they'll be able to get to Chirinos early in this game, enough to give enough run support for Lance Lynn to grab the W in the end. Lance Lynn's had mixed results so far this year. He pitched really well in his first start of the season. Then he struggled. He pitched pretty well against the Twins, 10 strikeouts in 6 innings. His strikeout numbers have been there. He's made some mistake pitches. I do think, though, he's going to improve as the season continues. I think this is a good spot for him to bounce back and grab a W. I think the runs are going to be there for him. So I lean towards the over, but I also take the Chicago White Sox on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Colorado Rockies. We're going to see Noah Davis and Tommy Henry on the mound in this one. Noah Davis has pitched well so far in 2023, but both of those first 2 starts were on the road against the Mariners and Phillies. Now this is his first start in his career at Coors Field. As last year, he had 1 appearance against the Dodgers, but that was on the road. He struggled in that game, but I think Davis struggles here. It's very tough for young pitchers to pitch at Coors Field. Same thing goes for Tommy Henry. He struggled in his first start of this season at the major league level, 4 1/3 against the Royals of all teams, giving up 3 earned runs, a home run, and 4 walks in that ball game. I think the Rockies can get to him for a few early on. Don't really love either of these bullpens to begin with, so give me the over here in Colorado, Arizona. And our final game for Saturday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Jordan Montgomery and Clayton Kershaw on the mound in this one. Now, when you look at this matchup, you look at these 2 starting pitchers, you say, maybe this is going to be a pitcher's duel. You got Jordan Montgomery pitching well this season at 3.81 ERA. His xFIP numbers are solid. The SIERA numbers are solid as well. And, he's facing a Dodgers team that's ranked near the bottom of baseball in team OPS against lefties, 27th in the league, only better than the Giants, Mariners, and Brewers. You say this is a pretty good spot for Jordan Montgomery, but I say not so fast. When you look at Jordan Montgomery and the teams that he's faced this season, very weak strength of schedule against teams that struggle against lefties. 2 of those teams that I mentioned were worse than the Dodgers in team OPS, the Giants and the Brewers. A team like the Blue Jays and Diamondbacks that hit lefties worse than they hit righties. I think Montgomery has been pretty fortunate with the matchups he's had, and I don't think the Dodgers' numbers against lefties, at those poor numbers in team OPS, are going to last very long. When you look at this team again in the isolated power department, for the Dodgers against lefties, they are 4th in baseball, so they have very good power numbers. Their strikeout rate is high, which I don't like to see, but their walk rate is also high at 11.2%. And when you look at their batting average for balls put into play, their BABIP, it is right now dead last in baseball at 181 against left-handed pitchers. There is no way that number is going to be sustainable for a full season of baseball. It is the lowest by over 60 points. The Dodgers are going to get positive regression offensively against left-handed pitching as the season continues. This is not a very good spot for Jordan Montgomery on the road. Give me the team total over here for Los Angeles. I think the Dodgers can score a few on Jordan Montgomery, add a few on the Cardinals bullpen as well. Give me the over in the team total. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.